Hey everyone, now that the fall storm is here, 6 days of Halloween, and my ever shifting plans to talk about stuff, I thought I would get at least one 20th anniversary video out before the month is out. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the another film that I've enjoyed for a long time ever since I first saw it. Not from um, director Tim Burton and the anime studio Laika, uh, both of whom are celebrating the 20th anniversary this year. Here, let's talk about the stop motion animated film Corpse Bride. Let's begin. Taking place in 19th century England, and this film sees a young man named Victor with Johnny Depp, who has been engaged to a young woman named Victoria, fittingly enough, who is voiced by Emily Watson, and whereas as Victor's parents, who run the local fish shop, are happy about the news, who's being in whereas as Victoria's parents, not so much. I mean, it's mainly out of necessity and finance, as ones that time frame often were, or as they're near destitute and without humor. However, the dress rehearsal does not go terribly well, and when Victor runs the witch practice his vows, he ends up being wed to the corpse bride, Emily, voiced by Helena Bonham Carter, her Burton's wife and frequent collaborator, for better or for worse. And as someone who saw the film in the theater, when it came out in 2005, so it was not long after I moved here to this town and state, I was, like a lot of people, quite pleased with what I saw. It did respectable business, taking in 53 million domestically and over 117 million dollars on a $40 million budget, which helped establish Laika's presence in stop motion animation, and both a medium and studio I've liked for a very long time. I'm even in its initial limited release, which took place in all of 5 theaters before expanded to over 3,000 and for screening. Even that had a respectable per theater average, which I guess that's only natural to start checking those out as well, not just how much money they're making overall, but how many they're making per site. And I'm also among the people that considers it part of like an unofficial thematic trilogy with A Twisted Life with Night Before Christmas and 2012's Frankenweenie, with Frankenweenie representing childhood, this movie representing adulthood, and Night Before Christmas representing, in a way, the afterlife. I mean, and I've always been fascinated by the idea of death not being the end, and can often be a new beginning, which, given the experience of the last decade or two, is certainly a fascination that I'm holding on to say the least. Of course, the gothic 19th century atmosphere, air, the stop motion designs, and a very dark sense of humor and nightmare fuel have kept me coming back year after year. Especially a, in the side character, her who is known as their smoking coachman Mayhew, voiced by Paul Whitehouse. And even though it's clear he's been at it for a long time, I'm to the point where he actually keels over her about halfway through the movie. We once implied to be hitting the pipe for years. You know, The Mrs. response, however, is simply silence that coughing, which is also subsequently among the reasons subconsciously why I don't use tobacco. Oh, well, that's genetics and cost, especially, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Of course, first, the voice cast is full of talented performers, apart from the other ones I've mentioned. We have Tracy Ullman, and, and who is voicing Victor's mother, Nell. Hell, we have a lot of performers hers who are no longer with us, including Christopher Lee and Michael Hoffman, who passed away in 2015 and 2011, respectively, and the Count Barkus Bitter, voice does Richard E. Grant, who is eventually found out to be the one responsible for turning Emily into the corpse bride. That's not long after they eloped and wed, he took her fortune and murdered her and was likely intending to do the same aim to Victoria before finding out in the denouement that they're destitute, which changes everything. And on top of the other factors I mentioned, the film is also a musical, and while they're not saying every single line, it's definitely done in a way where the songs actually complement the story and help move it forward as any good musical will should, whether it's to provide context for the setting, the character motivations, especially the case because we actually find out about Emily's demise in some form. And I also like how the underworld is handled, that it is a setting that has been depicted many, many times over the years, and it's not always a vast valley of fire and brimstone. Sometimes it can just be as simple as like a tavern, serving drinks, which also has its own library and piano. The scene where here where Victor and Emily bond over their musical skills and their respective lack of luck and love. It's actually quite touching in a way. Hey, and of course, even though there are admitted flaws in their home lives, Victoria in particular does not get along with her parents, and that's putting it mildly. In fact, for all the fantastical horrors in the movie, the most frightening things I keep thinking about are how much that Victoria's parents have browbeaten her into going along with everything, and even without raising a single hand or indeed finger towards her, which is implied to have been done her entire life. And the Count Bitterns mindset that is more or less if I can't have you, no one can, and it's best summed up by the line which was right before his undoing and was used very frequently in the promotional movie. Can a heart still break once it stopped beating? Plan by the elder, that's who Michael Goff is voicing, by the way. It involves poisoning the ceremonial wine used for the wedding, and that is ultimately what ends up being the Count's undoing. I've seen every time it gets to that scene, I sometimes just watch that part alone. It's easy to imagine in a gruesome or cruel fate for anyone who wants to make life hellish for others. But sometimes the simple joy I've seen an evil person being voiced with a petard as its own satisfaction. And with this, not only do Victor and Emily, Victor and Victoria wed, Emily's soul is at peace. I especially like how from the initial shots to the finale, the usage of butterflies, a symbol of a new life coming to an old one. That I also have the high amusement of her pet, Maggot, who is voiced by Ein Veitel, positive pronunciation, and of course his facial expressions and voice were based on Peter Lorre, which you could have a tell that Tim's a big fan, obviously. So, that is Corpse Bride, and it is definitely another movie I consider to be a companion piece now before Christmas, and the kind of person I am means I'm indeed keep that one heavy rotation and well into the end of the year here. So heck, I'm able to remember when that film was put out under the Touchstone label, all because they had wondering if it could find its audience. And for those who playing at home, this was obviously what they did before the mouse had Marvel, Lucasfilm, and now Fox for that purpose, man. And with that in mind, it will not be the only milestone of a movie, especially a stop motion one we're talking about this year. Count on that. Anyway, that'll be all for now, and I will see you all again soon. Happy Halloween, everyone.